WARLOCK's got themselves a great one. I've used these, messed around with them since I got them. So in this video, I want to show you all the things that they do. There's a lot going on. I have a lot of timers, do's and don'ts, build setup synergy, and a lot more. It has a place, and it's even looking good for the upcoming Crota raid. Briarbinds puts a huge twist on the Voidwalker. It has something you must actively use, and if you do actively use it, there's a ton of benefit. But before we get into it, today's video is sponsored by a company I'm very excited to partner with, Starforge Systems. Maybe you haven't made the jump to PC yet, or maybe you're just due for an upgrade. Their Horizon PCs are for you. They're affordable, fast, and great for first-time PC users and gamers alike. But if you're like me or looking for something with more, their Voyager PCs are perfect for content creators or players who are just looking to get that top-of-the-line gaming setup. Featuring 40 series GPUs and new-gen products, the Voyager line is definitely something to get excited about. Mine is a beast. So check out my link at the top of the description at starforgepc.com/CoolGuy and find the PC that's right for you today. Briarbinds do a lot, and it puts Voidwalker on radar. The Voidwalker kit in this exotic is just an engine that doesn't stop. The exotic perk, One with the Void, and we'll break down each section of what it does. Your Void Souls have a longer duration. They gain escalating damage and durability as they defeat targets. You can retrieve your Void Souls by interacting with them, allowing them to be redeployed. Very good. Monster exotic when you get the build going, and of course, you're gonna need Child of the Old Gods aspect. Cast your Rift, create a Void Soul. When you damage a target with a weapon, the Void Soul flies to the enemy location, drains them, doing damage, and weakens them. While being drained, first option, you're granted grenade and melee energy if you're using a healing Rift. We're going to say it's a Void Soul tick, the draining. So each tick, you're granted small grenade and melee energy. You can combo things like, let's say, impact induction. Doing damage with your melee reduces your grenade. You can do things like that, so each time it ticks, you get that ability energy. Or option 2, you receive health when running Empowering Rift, so each tick is going to grab a small chunk of health for you. Universally, defeating a target who's actively being drained by the Void Soul grants class ability energy, so this gets your Rift back, in turn, another Void Soul. First up, the duration. The base Void Soul ticks 14 times for around 10 seconds. So the total damage from those ticks is 34,160. And remember, you're also applying the weaken debuff. You deal 50% more damage to them as they're being drained. Keep that in mind as we go on. With Briarbinds, the Void Soul ticks 21 times for around 14 seconds. Total damage is 54,240, so 59% more than just base because it's longer. That means that they're going to be fully weakened for around 14 seconds. And 7 more times, you're getting health chunk back with Empowering Rift or grenade and melee with the healing Rift. So out of the gate, really, really good with the base Void Soul. But the next thing that we have is escalating damage as targets are defeated. On screen, I have the base all the way to ×5. It stacks 2 × 5. So the base is 2,440 times 1, 2,846, a 16.6% increase. And then a big jump after that to 3659, 28%. And you'll notice from that point on, stacks 3, 4, and 5 aren't as big, 11%, 10%, 9%. With that said though, at ×5, it's effectively 100% more damage than base, or 2 times damage. At this point, just take in the difference between a regular Void Soul and a max Briar stack Void Soul with the duration. So 14 ticks at 2,440, that 10 seconds is 34,160. But the max Briar stack Void Soul, 21 ticks at 4,879 is 102,459 across 14 seconds. So in total, across the duration, it's 200% more than it would have done, or 3 times total damage. Pretty cool. And we're just scratching the surface here. It is harder to take out as it gets those kills durability wise. And the final part is you can interact with them, grab them, and perch them again. And they're going to have the same 26-second duration to redeploy. This means you can just take it with you. The best part, it remembers where you left off in your stacks. If you're at max stack ×5, like in this Lost Sector, that 4,879, if you take it and redeploy it, it's going to keep that. And it runs out after 14 seconds, but if you get in there, grab it, redeploy it again, it starts all over for 14 seconds. It's going to be up as long as you can grab it and redeploy, period. Big picture. It's doing really good damage for what it is with its ×5 stack, as it's ticking enemies 21 times. Each time you get massive health to your nade and melee with your healing Rift or health with the empowering. And since you get class ability energy for those downs, you have the opportunity to send out another Void Soul. So you can send out multiple Void Souls, but some things to keep in mind. Kind of cool. The game tracks where each one is at. So you could have a Void Soul at that max ×5, have it deployed on a target. You could have another one at base. Even a third one, it could be at like 3 stacks. So each one's getting kills, adding stacks to them. If you're running around grabbing them, then immediately shooting another group, grab one, shoot another group. Each one of them can get up to max stack. Each one's tracked individually. But an important note, if multiple Void Souls are on the same target or around the same target, it's going to take the highest stack always. You can't have 3 Void Souls just all on one target, each hitting it. It's going to take the best multiplier and apply that. But if they're sent out at different times, when one runs out, it's going to take the next best stack, and so on. So, is it worth it? Getting multiple Void Souls? Yes, it is, 100%. As long as you can spread them around to different areas, different groups of enemies, 100%. And this is why. With more Void Souls out, the inner workings of that Void Soul has a lot more to offer, because each tick with a Healing Rift grabs melee innate energy. Note, it can't double up with more souls, so if you have like, let's just say 10 souls out, you can't do that. All separately ticking, it's counting as 1, if that makes sense to your grenade, melee, or health. But what it does mean is you will constantly always have a fast cooldown on that grenade and melee. Always. Because if one goes out, you can't get to it, the others are still working. As long as there's a tick going on, that ability regen is coming back. Very fast cooldowns, because it intertwines with the Void kit. When you set it up, I believe that the pairing aspect is Feed the Void. And I say this because defeating a target with the Void ability activates Devour. Well, the Void Soul is a Void ability, so when it gets a down, you get Devour. While you have Devour, you're granted full health, huge chunks of grenade energy each time you get a kill, and you extend Devour. So since you're getting that, you would go Healing Rift. The Devour grenade energy combined with the Void Soul ticks, granting grenade energy, is an extremely fast cooldown. For the Fragment's Expulsion, Void ability final blows cause targets to explode, so each time the soul gets a kill, it causes an explosion. Harvest. Defeating weakened targets creates an Orb of Power and a Void Breach. There's going to be a ton of weakened targets. Starvation, picking up that Void Breach or Orb of Power grants Devour. Instability with a Void Weapon, defeating targets with grenades grants Vault rounds to your Void Weapon. So that last one could be the one where you get an Overshield. It could be a lot of different things. But what's nice is you can send out the Void Soul. If it gets a kill, it grants Devour. It's a Void ability, so there will also be an Orb of Power and a Void Breach. So if your Devour runs out, you can always grab those to get Devour. And as I'm talking about this in the background, I loaded up a Master Lost Sector. I'm 26 levels below. And that's no joke. I'm talking just getting one shot out there. And there aren't any modifiers that are truly benefiting me aside from a Strand Surge for my legendary auto rifle. And then I have Thunderlord. So I need Thunderlord to take out champions. I'm 26 below. But I wanted to see just how far this exotic with the Void Soul would take me. And it's an extremely vanilla loadout, so I could use the Void Soul. It's an auto rifle for anti-barrier and a hand cannon for unstoppable. Not ideal. But this exotic was very impressive because you have to think it's ticking longer. As it gets downs, it does more damage. And this is also one of those lost sectors that has that modifier that has the wells. So the only way I get health regen is by getting a kill and then picking up the well. So I'm getting Devour a ton. Void Breaches are dropping. I can grab that to get Devour. I just send it out, take a breather. I'm also shooting at the debuff targets. When I down those, I get class ability energy. And no matter the enemy, like I said, it's just sitting there for 14 seconds. Most of the time, the duration alone just will take out trash mobs. And when it comes to a champion, it's doing damage. And if I got a really good stack, ×3, ×5 on the Briar Void Soul, that's added on top of me doing 15% more damage with Thunderlord because they're weakened. And then after, I just go grab the thing, take it with me, and go do it again. And pretty much everything that I shoot at is going to be weakened from a soul. The final blows create the Overpower, the Void Breach, grab those to get Devour. Mine ran out. Constant armor charge for whatever I want because that Overpower. Surges, fonts, other things. And I'm not using it here, but there was the volatile rounds and void weapons because you have your grenade a ton with this exotic. But this thing can do it. So think about lamps coming up in Crota. It's going to be nice having these there. You're slowed. You can send out the Void Soul. It's going to kind of stun them for a second, weaken them. You're going to be getting Devour, staying alive, taking it with you down the road. It has a place. I love it, and I highly suggest that you try it. Because once you start get going, you're going to see how fast you get your cooldowns back. It's keeping you alive a ton. You're doing more damage. It just feels great. It was cool. It's a very selfish exotic, but it's also very team-friendly because when you're using it, you're going to have Devour up so much. You're going to have very fast cooldowns on that grenade and melee, but you're weakening everything you throw that soul at. And like even think damage phases, right? I would say 14 seconds is a pretty good damage phase. So like when the tether isn't there, you have the Briarbinds Void Soul. This is a really good exotic. As far as the Crucible, honestly, I love them there. Because first of all, the regular Void Soul is a nuisance. I hate it. We've all been there. When someone has it, it's thrown at you in a gunfight. You have to take it out if they had good damage on you, because at that point, you're beyond getting away from it. You have to make the misery end. With that said, that's why I like using them, because they are a nuisance. With these, it's a very different type of playstyle, because yes, I mean, very different from like a neutral Ophidian or Steps. But after using them, if you've ever used Void Soul in the past, and you probably have with Secant Filaments, the issue with the Void Soul are kind of negated with these, because a lot of the time, number one, if you have that soul up, get into a duel, and you down them, the Void Soul will leave. It will go out. That's it. But since you have this exotic, you can pick it right back up and go do it again. That's a cool feeling, because multiple times, hundreds of times, if you use Secant or the Void Soul, once it's out, and it's gone. But now, you take it with you. And number two, since it can be redeployed, when it gets tags, it still does all those things, right? Nade energy, melee energy, health with the Empowering Rift. Meaning, if you can chain this thing, everything on your kit comes back that much quicker. Because most of the time in a duel, you might even down them while they're weakened, so you get massive chunks for your class ability. Send it into a couple of enemies, it gets a couple ticks. That's grenade and melee. Get it down, clear the area, pick it up, send it out again, couple ticks. It's awesome. And third, like, it's so aggressive, it will find enemies. So many times, even mid-duel, I don't ever recall it doing it this well before, but it will straight up just go seek and destroy. Like, if your target goes down, it's gonna dart to somewhere else. And it can track, kind of like seeing through walls Kepri style. You see where they went. It's very good in that aspect. And since you could retrieve it, I've had this happen a couple times. Like, say you went down, if you're kind of close to it, since it lasts for so long, you can spawn up, run right to it, and retrieve it. That's pretty cool. There's multiple playstyles that fit it, like hand cannon shotty has been my favorite, just aggressive. Get into a duel, send it, retrieve it, rush, get into a duel, send it, retrieve it. It helps out in the duels. It's a nuisance. That's Healing Rift or Empowering Rift. It's always going to get tags, but that isn't to say you can't go Pulse or Scout, because you can. You have a long time, 14 seconds, to go get it. There's more of a chance, though, if you're far away. If it gets stuck in a wall or close to them, they're just going to take it out. That's why I like being a little bit more aggressive, but both work. They did a great job with it. I think that it's better than Secant Filaments. Overall, like, it's a solo player's dream. And in a team setting, again, like a damage phase or high enemy density, sending out multiple souls to different areas of the board can do well. All the while, you're going to have Devour, and you're weakening everything around to help your team. I think it's going to shine in certain activities. Like, again, I think the upcoming Crota raid, it's going to be perfect for these. So get them, try them. I think that you'll like it. If you're new here, remember to hit the subscribe button. And if you are subscribed, thank you so much for your support. Let's talk about Briarbinds down below. Voidwalker feels so good with them. And Voidwalker, to me at least, hasn't felt great in a while, aside from like the astrocyte. Let's bring some life back into them. Let's talk about Briarbinds down below. And don't forget, go check out Starforge Systems. There's a link down below right at the top of the description. Thank you for watching. And until the next one, I am CoolGuy.